I just had such a wonderful, insightful conversation with my dear friend Cole Flanders. He is a new Chick-fil-A operator, and we get into so much about team building and about the Chick-fil-A culture and how to establish culture and how to grow a team from him to 110 people. So I know you will find a lot of value in the conversation, and I don't want to delay anymore. Here's my dear friend Cole Flanders. Welcome to Market Mavericks. I'm Matthew Eford. Join me as I speak with leaders who are redefining industries in every corner of the market. From startups to established businesses, we'll uncover the strategies, challenges, and insights that drive success. Get ready to be inspired by the Mavericks who are shaping the future of business. Welcome to Market Mavericks. I have a dear friend of mine, Cole Flanders, and he is a new Chick-fil-A operator, which I'm really excited to hear about his story. So Cole, kind of tell us about the role that you're in right now. So you're still in the pre-building phase. So talk to us about kind of where the stage of Chick-fil-A ownership you're at right now.
Yeah, so I have been not only selected, but have signed my franchise agreement. So I'm technically officially an operator, but the store is not open yet, the restaurant. So it's funny, I have made Chick-fil-A $0 as an operator, and I have made myself $0, but I am officially a owner operator for Chick-fil-A. So that all happened. The official document was signed in late August, and but did my bell ringing, which is where they essentially select you for that position. So really, since May is when I did that bell ringing. Has just been waiting for the store to be built and getting ready for that.
That's really cool. Yeah, I had an opportunity to be at your bell ring, and it's a great celebration. So talk to us about the process. So those of us that may not be familiar, just because I'm close friends with you, I do know a little bit of the process, but tell us the process of you feel like or God's calling you to be an operator, that you want to do this, you want to pursue this. How did that start? And then the journey in which you've gone to get here where you are now.
Yeah, it has been a little over 8 years since I started Chick-fil-A. So there's some many hours of frying chicken in between there. Um, when I
Very good chicken,
graduated,
by the way. Very good
yeah,
chicken.
we hope it was. When I graduated college, was an animal poultry science major. Fast food was not on my radar, had never worked in restaurants. And so I worked in the poultry industry for a little over a year. And right after we graduated, my wife and I got married, and she started at Chick-fil-A as a restaurant marketing director at a single store in Athens for owner operator Alex Clark at Athens Atlanta Highway. Google that one. You'll see a lot of Christmas lights. Take the kids there if you're within like 2 hours. Promise
Yeah.
you it's worth it. But anyways, she started there, and so I got to see over the course of that year what is Chick-fil-A. I got to meet Alex, and we became friends. And it wasn't him trying to recruit me or anything. It was genuinely just a friendship. And so throughout that time, I realized poultry wasn't going to be it for me.
Okay.
I enjoyed it there. Or there were things I enjoyed, and as a 22-year-old newly married guy, 60 hours a week isn't the worst thing ever because you still got to spend time with your spouse. But projecting forward, saying, I don't think I want to have a family in this environment. And so Alicia and I said, well, what is it about a job we want? And so it started for us for what is my life purpose, or what I feel is. And so for me was to be an ambassador for the kingdom of God and to glorify his name through hard work. And so those two big key words for me, or phrases, is an ambassador. Matthew, if you're an ambassador for America in the UK, you don't live in America, but you always have America's best interest.
Yeah.
And so for me, being an ambassador for the kingdom of God is saying to me, this is not my home. My home is heaven. And so how can I be an ambassador in the time that I'm given here? And to do that, I need to glorify God. I've always felt one of my strengths is working hard. And I don't just mean sweating or being strong. I'm not a large guy, but just having the endurance and the stamina to keep pushing when other people don't want to continue, to kind of face obstacles and keep going. I always felt was one of my strengths. And so I want to glorify God with that work and that ethic that he's developed in me. So we took that and said, well, what do we need in a job? And we came up with 5 different attributes. One was, being able to build a team. One was having some autonomy in a job. One was being with a brand we believed in. Community aspect was another, and then working with numbers was another. And so we
Okay.
kind of lined it up, and it was one of those between Alex talking about a little more and me starting to ask questions. Realized I think the Lord's pushing us in this direction to pursue being a Chick-fil-A owner operator, and lots of prayer. Lots of counsel from people much wiser than me, and said, "Hey, we're young. If this doesn't work out, I'll be late 20s and still have a long career ahead of me in something else. So
Yeah.
let's give it a shot." And so that was the start of it. I know I'm getting a little lengthy, but
I don't know.
did
That's great.
2 years with Alex Clark in Athens, working, started as a team member, closing 5 nights a week in the kitchen. Really wanted to learn the heartbeat of a restaurant.
Yeah.
It's always been easy for me to stand there and talk to somebody or carry a conversation or smile, but I didn't know anything about kitchens. So wanted to just dive into that. And then got accepted to Chick-fil-A's leadership development program. Spent 2.5 years traveling all around the country, uh, grand opening new restaurants, helping with that process, as well as being an interim manager in between operators when it transitions, as well as did a few months on a mobile kitchen rotation, which was a fun
Oh,
little
wow.
thing
Yeah.
that people get to do. After we exited that program and we finished our time in it, there's a set time that you're there. Went to Grovetown, Georgia, which is just outside of Augusta, and worked with Eric Smith. My wife's from Augusta, and so we finished. It was 2021, COVID, all that stuff going on, and so let's go back near family. And so spent 3 years there, learning under Eric and following his leadership, until we were selected for Valley, Alabama, is where we are at, right on the Chattahoochee and the Georgia Alabama border.
Love it.
So yeah, very blessed to
Well,
be here.
congratulations.
Well,
That's
thank you.
what a testament of endurance, right? I can remember in college, Hannah training for the ATH and you getting the one of your roommates, maybe Carson or somebody, was had a ticket, a number, and chose not to run, and he went and ran, and it was sub 2 hours, and Hannah was like, I can't believe I've been training all this time, and Cole just goes out, but I think outside of your physical health, right, it's such a testament to you and the way the Lord's equipped you and the endurance, because so many people would have quit, right? I mean, 8 years is a long time to sacrifice for a vision, to sacrifice for a dream. And so I've admired you throughout the entire journey of the process of you saying, "Hey, this is where I feel called to go." And I don't always see the full picture. I don't see the full future, but I just want to be faithful in the next step. And I admire you in the way that you've done that.
I appreciate it.
Definitely.
It's
So
not
so
always
talk.
easy.
No, it's definitely not. So talk to us about where are you at right now? So you're pre-open of the store. So give us some kind of behind the scenes, if you don't mind. Like what's your process now between you're now living in the community to when you open the store?
Yeah, it's a lot at this point, because well, I say a lot. I'm trying to get everything knocked out so I can hit the ground running on interviews in the next few weeks, which I'll hit on in a second. But was at the courthouse today getting business license, have different online scheduling applications set up, starting to secure some vendors, trash, linen, things of that nature,
Nice.
trying to do all those, make some community connections with the mayor's office, development authority, things of that nature. So that really, hopefully next week, I'll post it this week. So if anyone's listening that's in the Valley, Alabama area, go online and fill out an application. But I'll post that in a few days. And then really we'll have 5 to 6 weeks of pretty full days of straight interviewing. I will be looking to hire about 110 people,
Wow.
which typically for me means I'm going to be doing about 450 interviews.
Okay.
So, do the math on that. I would love to be able to block off 30 minutes an interview, do it in 15 or 20 minutes, have a few minutes in between, but it'll probably be 15-minute segments, as many people as I can fit.
Yeah.
I do have a leader coming with me from
Okay.
the
That was going to be
restaurants.
my next question. So
Yeah,
you've got somebody
she's
coming with you.
yeah, I have two people. The main one that's going to be helping interview, though, has been working pretty closely with me at Grovetown the past 2 years, and so she's going to help do some interviews, take a little off my plate, and she'll be our director of talent. I mean, is now, but when we open, that'll be her ongoing role. So that'll help out as we crank through a lot of applications and a lot of interviews to get the right team in place, hopefully.
So what all roles are you having to hire for, and what's kind of most priority as you start out now, a few weeks out from opening?
Yeah, when we first opened it, I'd say everything's a priority. I have nothing. My goal though is to get between 8 and 10 shift leaders, um, whether it's someone with Chick-fil-A experience or
Okay,
someone other leadership experience, whether
okay,
it's restaurants or not, but somebody that we feel will be capable of leading a shift, which would be leading their team members, taking care of guest complaints, ensuring fast and accurate food, safe food, things like that. And so we'll put them through a little course ahead of time that the leader come with me, Megan, is going to develop so that they don't just open on day one and have no idea what's going on. So we'll try to get them in. And so I've got to have those people in place so that I can, we have someone to open the restaurant, close the restaurant, things like that. But then if I have 10 of those people, but only 10 other team members, I'm also up the creek. So we will hopefully, like I said, 110 is what I'm looking for. So
okay.
100 team members, those 10 shift leaders would be a great. We'll have I have an org chart. I'd advise anyone to have some sort of vision for the future, even if you're just starting a business from scratch. What would that look like? And so there's a few other like director type roles that I hope to fill, but they're not going to be crucial at the start. That'll be taken on more by me. And so it'll be as people rise through, or if I find an outside hire that's great, I can plug in there. But so there will be some gaps that I know I will have to take on that and fill. But we will be looking to advance people as they, show this is what they want to do, and they're a great fit for not only Chick-fil-A's culture, but for Chick-fil-A Valley's culture.
I love that so much. That's such a cool perspective, and it's such a unique situation that you're in, right? I mean, most businesses don't scale the way a new Chick-fil-A store scales. So I want to get into that some more. I want to ask
Yeah.
so let me take one sidestep. Um, Talk to us about the Chick-fil-A model. Like, do they give you support between now and in 5, 6 weeks from now when you open, to help cover the cost of training, to help cover the upfront cost of building your team before the influx of Valley, Alabama saying, "Yay, we've got a store here," and they flood you for the first several weeks into the coming years? How does that logistically? How does that work?
Yeah, so most of the cost is on me. There's a few things they do. We'll do a dedication dinner that Chick-fil-A will help cover a portion of, and they allocate I say small. It's generous. I don't mean to say that in a negative, but they allocate a small amount for some training.
Cool.
Won't cover probably even 80% of it, or won't even cover 20%. I'd say
Okay.
we'll have a lot, but what they do provide is a lot of support. So I'll have three GOS's grand opening supervisors on ground starting 2 weeks from tomorrow that are in that leadership development program that I used to be in. And they'll be with me all the way through the end of the year, as well
That's
as
so
they will
cool.
bring in corporate trainers. They'll recruit and essentially hire on. I don't know the exact number. When I was doing it, it was anywhere from 20 to 35 trainers would come,
Wow.
and they try to do them as close as possible. So if you're in Atlanta, that's an hour drive for us. Hopefully, they can get some of them, but some people will be flying in, and yeah, so that they'll come from all over Chick-fil-A's, across the uh, potentially not across the entire country, but across the Southeast to help train my team and get them rolling. And so they'll be there for 3 weeks to help us train and get the team ready. So they not like I said, a little bit of, hey, here's a check, if you will, to cover it, but a lot of it is more, instead of me having to go to local stores and saying, can I borrow your employee for a week and let me pay them really well to come train? Chick-fil-A is going to help out from that standpoint inside, saying we'll give you some experienced restaurant people to get your team up and going.
I love that. So that's such a cool model that they've created, right? That they've proven a successful duplication of their model, which is the franchise model. And they have a fantastic offering that they give, and it's fairly consistent across the board. But I love the way that they've done that, and the experience that you have in the LDP program, the Leadership Development Program. helping assist other owners like yourself, right? I mean, that's what a godsend when those people show up, that they know what they're doing, they know how to support you, they've been through this situation before. But then you on the other side, right? You started in the back kitchen. You started as a shift manager, closing the store. Then you helped open the store. Then you've as a leader, you've done every role most for the most part within that organization. And so now, as you're leading your team, you have such greater insight into the team. So, talk to us about team building, right? That's something very popular. Culture, team building. What advice would you give? What kind of structure do you have in place, or are you putting in place as you scale from you and another employee to 110 employees?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it. Culture's so big right now, but I think the reason it's big is companies are realizing it's the thing that's going to propel us into the future, as opposed to, hey, we can squeeze this person for a few pennies here and there, but then they're going to quit in a year and we're going to retrain somebody. It's how can we keep that nucleus together? And so uh, I'm a big proponent of culture. There's different things that we do from a leadership side of training them and getting them to buy in. Typically, and it'll look different with the start, but typically I have a leadership development program within the store that's a 3 to 4 month program for a future leader.
Okay.
And a large part of that is culture. It's not just knowing the business, but it's, how do you interact with others? How do you give feedback? How do you hold people accountable? How do you hold yourself accountable? We typically have them go through a few books. The Heart of Leadership and The Secret are two books that are
Oh yeah.
by the same author that go together. Great reads that we have them go through. And so for them, the team as a whole, if I can, I'll use my example. If I can get those 10 bought in, then they can help filter down to the others. But there's also the things that um, I won't say every Chick-fil-A does great at. It's not just, a lot of people looking to say Chick-fil-A is great, but each operator has to create the culture in their own restaurant. And you do unfortunately hear some bad stories, more positive than negative across the chain by far, but it still is work. You don't just get to, slap Chick-fil-A's logo on the door and everybody's happy. And so things such as
Wish it
some
would
team,
work that way.
yeah, that would be fantastic. But doing some team building activities, doing a kickball game at the local park on a Sunday, bringing in donuts on a tough Saturday morning. What I have done in the past, and we will quickly get to here, is appointing a leader over team member care. And
Nice.
so for that person, they'll still work operations. Typically in a Chick-fil-A, everyone works operations to some extent, and then they have their other role, whether it be marketing or HR or something else, but they still are in tune with the business. And so for someone that would be team member care is, hey, are we celebrating team member birthdays? Are we doing each month a small event, whether it's nachos or donuts or something
Cool.
like that? And then I call them the big hitters, kind of the Eastern Christmas of church, if you will.
Yeah, yeah.
Our team member appreciation week we do every summer, and then our Christmas party. And it's like, if we can do those two well, and then do other things throughout the year, the team just feels, hey, I'm a part here. But I will give a quick caveat. Nobody in a terrible job stays because they get a donut once a month.
Yeah.
And so it's not just what can I give you? It's when we come into work, I go around to everybody and, hey, how are you? Good to see you, Matthew. Good morning. And on my way out, I go and say bye to every team member. And a lot of other leaders do that as well. And it just kind of trickles down to, hey, people care about me, and people are asking more than just get in a spot. They're saying, hey, how was school today? You look a little down. You okay? Oh yeah, I made a bad grade. Well, tell me about it. And a little bit deeper to get to know these people. They're not just workers; they're people. And that's it will be a big focus for me. Always has been in the past, but now getting to do it on my own is really, how do we keep that culture great, and have it be a safe and great place to work for people.
Love that. So the team care individual, what part of their time are you trying to allocate for operations versus that team care? Do you have a specific split, or is it just how are you organizing that role?
Yeah, normally it'd be 30 to 32 hours of operations. So essentially, if they're working 40 hours, a whole day a week would be set aside. It may not break down that way based off schedules, but
Sure.
you have a full day a week to prepare to get the team where we want them to be. in terms of care. Some of that filters into some reviews and team member accountability and making sure like that's a huge part of care that I think everyone thinks of care as just like happy go lucky, but high performers, well, anybody really, but especially high performers want accountability and they want expectations.
Yeah,
And so, they don't want to work along somebody that gets to goof off, but guess what? We're being nice to them. And so they want the team that's accountable and that's striving for goals. And so part of that role is doing some of our team member feedback and assisting with that process, as well as um, uh, generally, making sure, hey, does team have their uniforms? Do they have what they need for the job on a basic level, and not just, like I said, a donut every month?
yeah,
So a little bit more to it than just a, plan the next party. It really is getting in and saying, where's the team at? How can we, develop more and get more out of people? And I don't mean that squeezing them for pennies and dimes, but how can we allow people to grow and be a better version of themselves?
sure. So talk to us a little bit more about leadership development, right? I mean, Chick-fil-A is known for that. It's such an excellent first job for folks that are looking to get developed. And that's one of the reasons why they've been so successful in reaching that late teen market is they know that this is going to be a good environment, normally good environment to work in that I'm going to get invested in. So what are some practical ways that you have found to invest in young folks or young leaders to help them grow into the next stage of their leadership?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it before. A huge aspect is reviews, team member feedback reviews. We do them twice a year.
Okay,
So essentially, every 6 months, you're going to get some sort of sit down feedback. And it's not just, oh, well, Sally's doing your feedback, so whatever Sally thinks. I take our restaurant core values and do it on a scale of 1 to 4, a competency model, if you will. And so they self evaluate themselves as well as we do an evaluation. And so then we can compare those and see, hey, what areas are you lacking in? One of our areas is integrity, for instance. And so, hey, are you actually doing the right thing? Are you doing what you say, or are you goofing off? Are you saying, hey, this area is clean, I can go home now, but it's actually not. And so we can have that tangible feedback so they know where they stand anytime in the process. And the second biggest thing I'd say is having um, uh, somewhere for them to go, having a resource and having opportunity. And so, yes, I may not have a 16-year-old lead a shift and be responsible for 20 team members at night, but they could be a trainer and go through our certified trainer program and do that. They can apply, especially when they're 17, 18, as they're maturing, to be one of our team leaders, which assists a shift leader on a shift and
cool.
has a little bit of say over an area, help run the drive-through tonight and keep an increased focus on it. And so there's opportunity for them to do a little bit more than just clock in, clock out. And so they know where they stand, and if they're in good standing and they want it, there's opportunity for them to develop and to do more.
Yeah, I love the intentionality behind let's help you get there, but let's not just dump you there and hope that you survive, right? That we're gonna take you from one step at a time and
We've
and,
done
and
that
help you.
before.
Yeah, well, yeah, and sometimes folks need that, and sometimes I've done that myself, right? But I love that you're trying to be intentional to say, hey, let's get you. I see leadership qualities in you. I think you can help train people because if you can train people, you know this role, and
Right.
training someone helps you learn the role even better. And then instead of leading all these people that you train, let's help you assist the person who's leading them to give you the opportunity to lead a little bit in the situation and maybe have a couple of difficult conversations, but the buck doesn't stop with you. And then allowing them to kind of continue to scale up. So I love that idea so much. So a lot of that sounds like mentorship, right? I mean, you and I both grew up in the church, and I'm very thankful for that. We've been a part of ministries, we've been a part of discipleship. Talk to us about in your business profession, what kind of mentorship have you been through, and what how do you lead differently because of it?
And I think something that Chick-fil-A has been able to do, which has helped me, is allow that operator to be involved in that single, or some operators have a couple stores, but they're very intentional. And so, and, when I worked with Alex in Athens, I saw Alex multiple times each week. And so it may not be every day or every week, even he's pulling me to the side and saying, where are you at on your growth plan? But Alex and Eric, they were very different in their leadership, but it was great to see. Alex was much more, I'm a resource. Come find me, and I'll be willing to chat about anything. And so, anytime I had a question, he was, open door policy. Eric was a little bit more of, hey, let's set up a recurring, monthly meeting. And so, two different styles, and I think for different people that works better. And so, I was able to see some people thrive under one, and some people thrive under another, and realize, hey, I may need to mentor people where they're at. What did they learn best with? And so, I will say seeing both of those guys, and they're both great, godly men, be able to mentor those underneath them and take me under their wing. When I got to Grovetown, for instance, I had gone through this leadership development program, and it was kind of like, when is my store coming? Like, when's my chance? I don't really want to go back in the restaurant, but this program is over. I have no choice. And so Eric did a great job navigating that, and sometimes pulling me to the side and asking my opinion on things, or saying, hey, I know you would do this differently than me, but this is the course I want to go. And so was very respectful of knowing working at his restaurant was not my end goal, but still pouring into me and still investing in me, and letting me make decisions in his business, as opposed to saying, Cole's essentially trying to get out of here. Let's just kick him on the side and not care. And so both those guys mentored me so much. Even if they didn't realize it every day, I learned something from them and how they led the business and how they interacted with others. So that was very influential in my life.
I love that, and I love the way that they led. Number one, but number two is that they saw it's Alex too, right? That they knew that your season with them was going to be short in terms of you're going to leave, and we've tried to take that perspective in our business. Is there's a season for every employee within your organization. And instead of saying, hey, I want to get as much out of you while you're here, it is more, hey, how can I invest in you? Yes, the business has to make money. It is not a charity. We have to turn a profit. That's what drives the impact that the business can have. But while you're here, if I choose to invest in you, I will get more output from you the longer you stay here, knowing that one day you will leave. And that's kind of more of an open handed, as a man of faith, as you and I both are. It's more of an open handed, God is, whenever you have someone in the season of my business, let me be a good steward of them here, knowing that that season eventually will end. Either they will retire, they will move, or they'll get a different job.
I working in Athens, especially, I saw it more. I saw it some in Augusta, and just in Chick-fil-A's, you see it, but it's the most happy and sad time, bittersweet, you could say, is when a college kid comes up and says, here's my 2 weeks, I'm graduating, and I got X job, and I'm so excited. And
Yeah,
it's like, man, you are going to go do great things. And we knew this was going to happen, but you have been so awesome here. And like, I saw you when you were 18 years old, and could, we're just goofing off, and just wanted to see which guest was you could push buttons with, some immature thing.
sure.
And yet here you are, like, graduating, and you got, on with the school system you wanted, or you got on with, whatever industry. And it's so fun to see that, and also know, all right, we don't get you anymore, but you're better because of the influence we've been able to have on you, and you've influenced people here. So it's just if it's hard when someone leaves, but it's a fun cycle to see, hey, they then influence the next
Yeah.
immature 18, 17, 16 year
Oh, yeah.
old. They're going to keep doing. So
So talk to us about your staffing model, right? I mean, there's specifically in the restaurant space, you consistently have turnover, not so much in terms of disgruntled people, but exactly what you just said. You have a college student who's graduated, they're moving on into a different career or their quote unquote full time career. But how do you intentionally set up your staffing model to always have that kind of, to take an Alabama term, Alabama football, unfortunately, the next man up, right? How do you create that not in a football sense, but in your business?
Well, first, we take more of a Vanderbilt approach.
Yes, that's right.
Sorry
Anchor
for any
down, baby.
Alabama fans, but um, yeah, I think it's for us that leadership development or our people becoming trainers. We're continually having those classes, and I say we are as if I'm doing it at the restaurant now. The restaurant I just came from in Grovetown is where I would do that every 3 months. We started a new class, and people
Cool.
could apply to it. And they knew, hey, if I didn't get in this one in January, I can apply to the one that starts in April.
Okay.
And so and we'd give them feedback and time. And so essentially looked at it as we've got to keep building the bench. It's easy sometimes to look back and be like, well, we have enough shift leaders at the moment. Like, but one, like in the restaurant, especially, and I'm sure you feel it a lot as well when it's, when you have 8 or 10 leaders, or sometimes even less, one person leaving affects it a lot.
Yeah.
And adding one person can all of a sudden be like, wow, that took a lot of stress off some people because someone else has now worked in the fold. And so, for lack of a better term, essentially saying we're going to continue to recruit great people and we're going to continue to develop as many people as possible. And if we'll go back to the college football, if someone ends up transferring because their playing time got cut, and by that I mean maybe you didn't get to lead as many shifts because we have now 14 shift leaders instead of 10, and you got disgruntled. Well, you probably weren't the top one or two shift leaders of those
Yeah.
14. You probably were number 12, 13, 14. And so I'm going to keep developing and finding great people, just as Kirby Smart is going to go and recruit 5-star recruits, even if he has a returning stud at that position. He's
Yeah.
always going to try to fill in and backfill and keep it rolling. And so keeping that mindset of let's keep growing, let's keep growing, let's keep growing. I will find something for somebody. If we get to a point where we have too many leaders, we will find stuff. We will develop a new role if we have to before we just let people become stagnant and not be a better version of themselves and help our business in the best way that they can.
I love that. What a good perspective. What a good opportunity for folks that are going to work with you, that they know that they're going to be able to grow and learn and be better for being there. So talk to us about that every 3 month program. Is that something that they do during work hours? Is that something who manages that? Are they paid during that time? Is there schoolwork? Talk to us through that training. I really like that idea.
Yeah, we have I think we used to do 3 months. Now we had to expand it to 4 months because we were cramming too much content in there. But what we do is I'm a big believer in the 70-20-10 model is
Okay.
70% of your learning is from hands-on, you're doing it. 20% is from your peers and those around you, and then 10% is from a classroom type setting.
Okay.
And so I say that we don't actually break out every week into an exact down to the hour. But most of their training is going to be on the job, is going to be you get paired with a mentor. So if it was you as the up and coming leader, you'd get paired with let's just pretend I'm a shift leader in our restaurant. And so I would help mentor you some, and we'd meet every now and then, go through that competency model and see where you're at. And so you would be put into positions where, hey, you're going to get to be the team leader today and get some, reps, or you're going to lead the shift today and I'm going to be right here alongside of you, but you're going to get that feel and do it. And so that's the bulk of it is, are you doing it? That 20%, if you will, is that mentorship, is that meeting with other shift leaders and them evaluating you. Then that 10%, we have 6, I think it's 7 now classes that we do. And those would be scheduled time. We try to do them back in the break area that we have. We can put stuff up on a TV, run through slideshows, run through scenarios. We do case studies. We really talk about a lot of leadership theory. We talk about restaurant numbers, food costs, labor, and get some of that learning so that they're more prepared to handle that as a leader in the restaurant. And so each of those classes is about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. So in the course of 4 months, they're only going to 15-ish hours of classroom time.
Sure.
All of that's paid for. Anything that we require them to be at is going to be a paid time. But it's a worthwhile investment to me to know, if you graduate, we literally say, hey, you graduate the program, you're now promoted, and we do a little celebration for you.
Nice.
If I'm willing to hand you keys to the restaurant, then I need to feel confident that I can go home at night and be okay, and that you can handle most things. And if you can't, that you'll know your point when to call me or call another leader, besides just writing it out. And there's, rampant food safety violations, or a guest is behind the front counter doing something awful. Like, we talk through those scenarios, and we see that person in action before we say, here's the keys, go forth and conquer.
That's fantastic. I love again, it's intentionality, right? You're intentionally developing leaders to allow your organization to grow. And if you do not develop leaders, your organization will not grow. We had a mentor of mine on the podcast earlier, and he said that most business problems, or really all business problems, are not business problems at all. They're people problems. And if we can solve the people problems, the business just takes care of itself in terms of you've got to take it to the next level. And if you want to scale your business, if you want to open a store rapidly and hire 100 people, right, and allow your store to be operating in a way that is profitable and is upholding the brand standards and also your local core values, you've got to develop a team that, when for your specific organization, when those trainers, when those 20 plus trainers, when they leave at the end of December, instead of the store falling apart in January, you've got to have time that this old model, watch me do it with me. Now I'm going to watch you do it. Now you go do it. That I love that you're taking that approach with Chick-fil-A corporate, that they've taken that approach, and then also locally you're taking that approach as well. So that's I think that's really, really good advice for everybody when you're looking at team buildings. I know we dug into that a little bit more than we may have normally, but I appreciate your feedback on that. So talk to us. One of the questions I always like to ask: everybody makes mistakes, right? Throughout your LDP program, throughout your 8 years at Chick-fil-A, talk to us about a mistake you made as a leader and what's something you learned from it.
Man, I didn't know this was going to be a 3-hour podcast. um, no, I think one of the bigger mistakes I made, I was helping open up a store in Tennessee as a grand opening supervisor. And I thought I was prepared, but it was 2020. And so a lot of stores, the store we were at, the dining room was not going to be open.
Okay.
And so a lot of Chick-fil-A's at that time, to increase the capacity and not have just a drive-through only, would try to do like a separate drive-through lane in the parking lot. And it was
Okay.
this like chaotic mess, but it was like, we have to keep the sales up. And so I had not experienced any of that, but everyone kept saying, do it, do it, do it. Didn't feel comfortable with it. And it was a disaster. Like, just flopped. Someone ordered like the max amount of 4-count minis you could order on the Chick-fil-A app at one time at like 10:20, and we cut off breakfast at 10:30, and we ran out of minis. I mean, it was this disaster. And I think for me, it wasn't just hey, I wasn't prepared. It was, I had let everyone else talk me into an idea that I didn't think was good and didn't believe in. So twofold. One, I didn't believe in it. So when I thought I was prepared, it was kind of the checkbox and not, man, I'm passionate. Let me get this how I want it. And I'm thinking about it and I'm really crafting it. But for two, I just let that peer pressure of, well, everyone says we need to do this. So I did it. And so being careful as I open up right now, there's some people that'll tell me, oh, make sure you do this. And it's like, man, I don't feel that's going to be best. And so I've learned not to let as much peer pressure influence every business decision I make. At the end of the day, I am the business owner. And so I'm going to do what I feel is best. I don't mean that in a prideful, I'm just going to do whatever I feel like and stick it to everybody. But like, if I don't believe in it, then I'm not going to do something half-heartedly, because it's going to show and it's not going to go well.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing I learned. That was a terrible day. Got chewed out up and down by a consultant of mine. It was terrible.
Well, that's such a good perspective, right? And I appreciate you sharing that story. It is really easy, being in a place of leadership, to defer to someone else's opinion, and sometimes you need to. Sometimes your team, you need to hear from your team. But there are also other times where you just need to say, no, this is the direction that we're going. which Eric did that at Grovetown, right? He said, "I know this is maybe not the way you would go, but this is the way we're going." I admire that a lot. I also heard a story about Dolly Parton that when they were looking to open Dollywood, that her board, all of them said a resounding no. Do not do this. And she sat there and she said, "I hear you, but I need you to know we're going to do this." And then she laid out why, right? She defended her stance, but it was what she felt called to do. And it was like 2 years later is the most profitable thing they had ever done. And so there's a part of leadership that is saying, you know what, this is the direction we're going, and I'm going to lead us in that direction. And I want your opinion. I don't want just a bunch of yes men, but I need you to know that I'm this is the direction that we're going.
Yeah, I think it's so wise. And I would add on, I think it's okay when if you pivot,
Yeah,
if you say this is where we're going and 6 months in, you say, yeah, this isn't how I saw it. Like, don't ride the business to the grave just off your pride.
yeah,
Like, it's okay to change and adjust. And um, for that specific one in Tennessee, for me, uh, we ended up adjusting it and tweaking it, and ended up working okay for a few weeks until I left the assignments. I don't know what they did beyond that, but it was like, okay, there's other people in the room that had much better ideas than me, and they ended up helping me get it right.
nice.
And so, yeah, it was,
Yeah, there's so much of leadership that is swallowing your pride. That
yeah,
that if you're going to lead teams that move beyond you, that if you're the rate limiting step, right, as a leader, that if you're ever going to grow beyond your capacity, right? I mean, the store, you could run the store. You Cole could run the store, but you could only service a few people a day. You cannot service the hundreds or thousands of people that your store is going to service every day unless you have 100 team members. And you've got to swallow your pride and say, okay, this is the direction we're going. But yeah, exactly what you said. Let's make a pivot. We're going to make the best decision the information we have at hand today. And if that information changes, then we can make a change. But we're going to continue to make the best decision. So let's wrap up here. Cole, appreciate your time, man. I know you're busy. I know you're in the midst of the chaos of opening a business. I did not have to hire 110 people, but I do remember the pull that is on your time, and I really appreciate you taking some time
yeah,
to talk with
absolutely.
us. So let's close on a couple questions. One, what's a book that you mentioned a couple earlier? What's a book that you wish you could get in the hand of either every one of your leaders or every new Chick-fil-A franchise owner or every business owner? What's a book that you would love to be able to get in their hands?
I'm gonna cheat again and do two because I already
Okay,
mentioned one. So
that's all right.
Heart of Leadership is fantastic to me. It's a quick, I mean, it's barely over 100 pages. It's
Yeah,
written as a kind of fable like story.
yeah.
So it's a quick, easy read that I think still hits some key attributes of a leader. And the other one I actually read when I was working in poultry. It's called The Goal. And I
Okay,
can't remember I can't remember the name of the author, but I remember I could never pronounce it when I tried. But essentially, kind of the same style of written as a fable, but it boils down to the goal of a business is to make money. Everything else is fluff. If you don't make any money, then you can't do the community outreach or you can't do X, Y, and Z. And so I won't completely spoil it, but the title kind of gives it away. But
yeah,
it's talking about a factory and how to be more efficient. And everyone's so focused on being efficient, but they're actually not making any money because they're not really being efficient. They're not sending the parts through the process until they batch them and wait for it. So then customers are waiting on parts as
gotcha.
opposed to sending them through and going ahead and taking care of that first customer. So, if you said we're not going to do any lights on these houses until we get 10 houses in this neighborhood, well, no one's going to hire you for
Yeah,
lights again
that's right.
because you didn't do the lights.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. I'll look forward to picking up that book. I have not read that one, but I will definitely add that to my library. And then last question, I always love to ask, what's a piece of advice that you wish you would have had 10 years ago in your business leadership?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think I would probably tell someone or tell myself like get a strong vision that you want for your business and stick to it.
Okay.
Center around that. Don't find a vision that you're going to change in 2 years. Try to find a vision that you are going to stick to, and that's going to orchestrate you. So for me, I have my life purpose, but I also have a vision statement for the restaurant. And so one is for me personally, but then the other is how are we going to grow this business and push it in the right direction. And that comes back to that foundation. And it's a vision statement that I plan to have hopefully for the rest of my time at Chick-fil-A.
I love
So
that.
finding those core things like a vision statement and holding on to it, I think would be very beneficial, and probably would have helped me some throughout my time in the program and early on in Chick-fil-A of like, I think I know why I'm doing this, but what am I trying to accomplish on the business side?
Sure.
So that would have helped.
Well, Cole, that's what an excellent way for us to end. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of this. Cole, we will definitely get you to come back in the coming years as you develop out your team there at Fort Valley or in Valley, Alabama. And I'm excited for your grand opening. We will be there. And brother, I'm just proud of you. And thank you for being a part of it. Everybody, thank you for joining us on Market Mavericks. And we will see you soon. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Market Mavericks. We hope you're walking away inspired and ready to take your own adventure to the next level. Don't forget to follow the show to keep up with our latest episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe, share it with others who could benefit. And hey, if you know a market maverick who has a story that needs to be heard, please drop their name in the comments. We would love to bring their insights to the show. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries and leading with purpose.